My name is Alyssa, and I'm 31 years old. I'm not proud of what I'm about to share, but if I'm being honest, I didn't see it that way at the time. Back then, I thought I was justified. I believed he was the one being weak. It all started with that accident. I was at work, minding my own business as usual, when one wrong step sent me crashing to the ground. Boom! Just like that, I twisted my back and leg all at once. The pain was so intense, I could barely breathe. They called an ambulance while my manager kept telling me to stay calm, as if he was the one feeling like his entire body was on fire. Next thing I knew, the doctors were saying I'd be out of work for months. Physical therapy, doctor's visits, endless paperwork. It was overwhelming, but I kept telling myself, it's fine. We'll figure it out. I even remember saying those exact words to my husband, Tyler. He squeezed my hand and assured me, we'll get through this together. And I believed him. I needed to believe him. Tyler is 34 and works in construction. I know his job is tough. I'll give him that. But he's always been the type to keep his head down and push through without complaints. So, I assumed he could handle a little extra pressure. After all, we've been splitting everything, bills, groceries, rent, 50-50 for years. It was fair, or at least that's what I told myself. But with me out of work, I figured he'd pick up the slack for a while. We're a team, right? I reminded him it was only temporary. For the first month, he was solid. He covered the rent, paid the bills, and even brought me snacks while I lounged on the couch, binge-watching shows. But by the second month, I noticed a shift. His patience started wearing thin. Little comments here and there. "Still on that couch, huh?" he'd say, walking in sweaty from work. Or he'd eye an Amazon package and mutter, "Another one," when I ordered something small to lift my spirits. At first, I brushed it off. But one night, after he slammed the front door harder than usual, I snapped. "Why are you acting like I'm not doing anything?" I shot at him. "I'm literally healing from an injury. You think I like being stuck in this house all day?" He didn't even look at me. He just hung up his jacket, pulled off his boots, and headed straight for the kitchen. I followed, still limping but determined not to drop the argument. "Don't act like you're the only one struggling, Tyler. I'm in pain every single day, and you don't hear me crying about it." That hit him differently. He turned slowly and stared at me like he was sizing me up. "No, Alyssa, you don't cry about it. You just complain nonstop." Oof, that one stung. But I wasn't about to let him win. Complain? I scoffed. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize being in pain was supposed to be a silent sport. My bad for thinking I could vent in my own house." His expression hardened. "It's not venting, Alyssa. It's constant." He pointed at me like I was a child. "Every single day." I'm not proud of what I said next, but it was already spilling out before I could stop it. Well, maybe if you were man enough to handle it, I wouldn't have to complain so much. Silence. He just stood there, staring at me, his eyes narrowing like he didn't even recognize me. I felt it immediately. That moment when you trip, but it's too late to catch yourself. He didn't yell, didn't throw anything. He just nodded, like he finally understood something. "All right," he said quietly. "All right." Then he walked past me, grabbed his keys off the counter, and left. No jacket, no wallet, no words. Just gone. I sat there, heart pounding in my ears. I didn't even chase after him. Part of me still believed I was right. By midnight, I texted him, "Where are you?" No response. 1 a.m. Asterisk, "So you're just gonna leave?" Real mature, Tyler asterisk. By 3 a.m., I was pacing the kitchen, glancing out the window every few minutes like he'd magically pull up. But he didn't. When I woke up the next morning, I expected to hear his boots stomping around. But there was nothing. His side of the bed was untouched. No texts, no missed calls. Just me. I thought about texting him again, but something in me wouldn't let me. "He'll be back," I told myself. Asterisk, he's just mad. He'll come home after work, asterisk, but that night came and went, and still no Tyler. By day 3, I finally called him straight to voicemail. Now, I was starting to panic, but I didn't want to admit it. Instead, I called his brother, Jason, hoping for answers. "Hey, have you seen Tyler?" I asked, forcing a casual tone despite the lump in my throat. Jason didn't hesitate. "Yeah, he's here. Been here since Monday." I gripped the phone tighter. "You serious?" "Yep. He's good, though. Said he needs some space." "Space? From what?" "Me. I'm his wife. We're supposed to be a team, remember?" I was furious, but kept my voice steady. "Tell him to call me." Jason's response was short. "I'll tell him." Not he will call, just I'll tell him. That's when it hit me. He was done. By the end of the week, the reality started setting in. The groceries didn't restock themselves. The bills didn't stop. Rent was coming up, and for the first time, I realized Tyler wasn't going to swoop in and handle it. No more we'll get through this together. It was just me now. I sat on that same couch, staring at the empty space where he used to drop his boots. The same couch where I'd spent months complaining about my pain, never once considering his. I let out a laugh, but it wasn't funny. Not anymore. 2 weeks. 2 whole weeks, and still nothing. Jason stopped answering my calls, and I knew why. Tyler was gone. He wasn't coming back. And yet, I still found myself expecting that door to swing open any minute. But deep down, I knew he wouldn't. Not this time. Then, just when I was starting to accept that he might really be gone for good, I heard it. The key in the door. At first, I thought I imagined it. I was scrolling through my phone, but my heart skipped 3 beats. Then I heard it again, the jingle of keys, the clunk of the deadbolt turning, and finally, the slow creak of the front door. I didn't move. I just sat there, pretending not to notice, acting like I didn't care. But inside, oh, I cared. Tyler stepped in, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. Same jeans, same work boots, same tired face. He glanced at me, then around the living room like he was checking for changes. Nothing had. Same couch, same me, same mess. "Took you long enough," I said, not looking up from my phone. He set the bag down slowly and just stared at me. I could feel his gaze, but I didn't give him the satisfaction of turning my head. "You hungry, or did you already eat?" I asked, still scrolling, pretending this was just another ordinary night. He didn't answer right away, just unzipped his bag, pulled out some clothes, and walked toward the bedroom. His boots thudded against the hardwood, each step heavier than the last. "I understand what you're thinking, girl. Just be quiet. I get that now, okay?" But at that moment, I was feeling a little too confident. "Knew you'd be back," I muttered just loud enough for him to hear. "They always come back." Thud. He stopped mid-step, didn't turn around, just stood there with his shoulders stiff as a board. I don't know if it was pride, ego, or just plain foolishness, but I smirked like I had won. He turned around slowly, eyebrows raised as if he couldn't believe what he just heard. "What did you just say?" I played dumb. I glanced up from my phone, tilting my head like I was innocent. I said, "Welcome back." "No, you didn't." He took a step toward me. "Say it again, Alyssa." Now, this is where most people would stay quiet, but not me. "No." I leaned back on the couch, like I had all the control in the world. I said, "I knew you'd be back." I even did that little head tilt women do when they're being extra petty. He blinked slowly, like he was mentally counting to 10. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm. Too calm. "You think this is funny, huh?" "A little," I shrugged. "I mean, you stormed out like you were making some big statement, but look who's back. Told you. They always come back." I even laughed, which, I'll admit, was completely unnecessary. But I thought I had him. I really did. He nodded to himself like he had just gotten all the confirmation he needed. Yeah, I see it now. He pointed right at me. You're not sorry. That wiped the smirk right off my face. What are you talking about? I literally just welcomed you home. He shook his head, lips pressed tight. No, you didn't. You tried to make me feel stupid for coming back. He pointed to his chest. Like I'm supposed to feel dumb for giving you another chance. I rolled my eyes. You're being dramatic, Tyler. Nobody said all that. He laughed, but not a real laugh. That hollow, exhausted, I'm so over this laugh. You're right. Nobody had to say it. You made it clear. He glanced at the duffel bag on the floor, then back at me. You really think I came back for you? That one hit harder than I expected. Yeah? Why else would you be here? The kids, Alyssa, he said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. They asked me to come home. They don't understand why Daddy's not here anymore. You think I'm here for you? No. I'm here for them. That stung. I won't lie. But I wasn't about to let him see me sweat. Well, I'm sure they'll be happy to see you. I said it with that fake, indifferent tone, like I still didn't care. So, what now? You back for good? Or are you going to do the whole runaway act again next time you get your feelings hurt? That did it. See, this is why I left Alyssa. He raised his voice just a notch, but he wasn't yelling. It was that firm, I'm about to be done with you voice. You act like you're untouchable, like you can say whatever you want, do whatever you want, and I'm just supposed to take it. He walked up closer, looking me dead in the face. But let me tell you something. I'm not here to be your punching bag. I'm not here to prove myself to you. You either act right, or you'll be sitting on this couch alone again. I just stared at him, heart pounding in my chest. I knew I should have said something, maybe even apologized, but that little voice in my head wouldn't let me. Instead, I hit him with, please, you'll be back. I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but I didn't expect him to just grab his duffel bag and head straight for the door. No pause, no second glance, no hesitation. Tyler, seriously? I stood up, half limping after him. So, you're just going to leave again? Real mature. He didn't even turn around. Just opened the door, stepped out, and pulled it shut behind him. I stood there in the middle of the living room, staring at the door like if I looked at it long enough, he'd walk back through it. But he didn't. Not that night. Not the next day. Not the whole week after. For the first couple of days, I told myself I was fine. I mean, I'd been on my own for 2 weeks before, right? I knew the drill. I told myself, he'll be back. But that first weekend without him hit differently. The kids kept asking where Daddy went. I told them he was working late. But my son's no fool. He's 7, but he's sharp. Daddy left again, didn't he? He asked, looking right at me like he knew I was lying. I just looked at him and didn't say anything. What was I supposed to say? Yeah, buddy. Daddy's gone because I ran my mouth one too many times. Nah, it's been 3 weeks now. I haven't called. He hasn't called either. We're both too stubborn for that. But I'm starting to feel it this time. The silence is louder. The couch isn't as comfortable. The bills aren't paying themselves. Last night, I thought about everything I said to him. The jokes, the little jabs, all the times I treated him like he was just supposed to take it because he's a man. And I'm starting to see it now. I was wrong. Not all at once, but in bits and pieces. I keep hearing his voice in my head. You think I'm here for you? I'm here for them. I don't know if he's coming back this time. I really don't. But if he does, I may not say it out loud. But I'll know in my heart, he wasn't the weak one. I was. It's been 2 months since Tyler walked out that door. 2 months of silence that's louder than any argument we ever had. I thought he'd come back. They always come back, right? Wrong. At first, I was fine. I mean, I've been alone before, and I figured this was just one of those let him cool off moments. I even told the kids, Daddy's just taking some time to himself. But after week 3, They stopped asking when he was coming back. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. The bills still got paid, though. I noticed the rent was still covered. The lights remained on, and groceries continued to appear at the doorstep as if by magic. I kept telling myself, he's still looking out for us. He hasn't completely left, but something didn't feel right. Then last Tuesday, I received a letter in the mail. It wasn't a bill nor a coupon. My eyes landed on the sender's name in the corner, Tyler J. Lawson. Instantly, I knew it wasn't good news. I sat at the kitchen table, just staring at the envelope, debating whether to open it. For a split second, I thought about leaving it sealed, like maybe if I didn't read it, it wouldn't be real. But life doesn't work that way. So I tore it open. Petition for dissolution of marriage. I must have read that line 5 times over. At first, it didn't make sense, like staring at a puzzle with missing pieces. But the more I scanned the words, the clearer it became. Tyler wasn't just taking space to clear his head. He was finished. For real this time. I sat there clutching that paper as if it weighed 100 pounds. In the other room, I could hear the kids bickering over which cartoon to watch, blissfully unaware that their entire world was about to shift. I flipped through the pages, and there it was, spelled out in black and white. Irreconcilable differences. I wanted to laugh. Differences? We didn't have differences. What we had was me. Me being loud. Me being obstinate. Me believing I could say whatever I pleased, and he'd just take it. Because that's what men do, right? But now, I was sitting alone, staring at a divorce petition like it was some nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I picked up my phone, my thumb hovering over his name in my contacts. Call him, I told myself. Just call him. But I didn't. Why? Pride. The same pride that landed me in this situation to begin with. That night, I overheard my son whispering to his sister, "Daddy's not coming back this time." I didn't know how, but he knew. I felt it too, but hearing it from him made it feel final. The next morning, I tried to text Tyler, not to apologize. I wasn't ready for that, just to gauge where his head was. "Are you really going through with this?" He left me on read. The entire day, I waited for that little typing bubble to appear. It never did. That night, I lay in bed scrolling through old photos on my phone, family trips, birthday parties, pictures of Tyler, smiling, back when I thought he was unburdened. But now, I could see it. The exhaustion in his eyes, the weight he carried in silence. I stopped at a picture from 2 summers ago at the county fair. His arm was draped around me, grinning like he was proud just to be next to me. I stared at it for what felt like forever, my gaze locked onto his face. That was the Tyler who would have moved mountains for me, and I pushed him away. But here's the thing, I still didn't feel like it was all my fault. I mean, he left, didn't he? No one forced him to go. He didn't have to file for divorce. We could have worked things out. We could have. At least, that's what I told myself, until my sister called later that week. "Did you hear about Tyler?" she asked. "What about him?" I mumbled, half distracted, flipping through TV channels. "He got a new place. Real nice, too. 3 bedrooms, big backyard. And he's got the kids over there this weekend." I shot up so fast. The remote nearly fell out of my hand. "What?" "He didn't tell me that." "He's not going to tell you, Alyssa," she said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "He's moving on. He's not thinking about you anymore." That one stung. Not thinking about me? I was the mother of his children. How do you just stop thinking about someone like that? Then I remembered the last words I said to him. "Please, you'll be back." But he didn't come back. A few days later, I received a text from him. No hey or how are you? Just straight to the point. "Mailed you a check for next month's rent. Kids are with me this weekend. Let me know if they need anything." I stared at that message for so long, I could still see it when I closed my eyes. "No, I miss you. No, we should talk. Just cold, distant business. I nearly typed something snarky in response. Something like, well, thanks for doing the bare minimum, but I didn't. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was exhaustion. Or maybe it was a slow, creeping realization that this wasn't temporary. He wasn't coming back. He was still paying the bills, still showing up for the kids. But he wasn't showing up for me anymore. That night, I sat in the kitchen with an ice pack on my knee, scrolling through old texts between us. Little I love you messages he used to send at random hours of the day. Texts about dinner, school events, inside jokes. It all felt like a lifetime ago. My knee throbbed. My back ached. My whole body felt like it was betraying me. I had spent so much time convincing myself I didn't need Tyler, that I could handle everything on my own. But in that moment, I felt it. Alone. I told myself I didn't need him, but I missed the sound of his boots in the hallway, the way he'd toss his keys onto the counter, the look in his eyes after a long day, tired, but still filled with something I hadn't realized was love. I picked up my phone and typed out a message, "Can we talk?" I hovered over the send button, my thumb trembling. Then I deleted it. He was done talking. And maybe that's exactly what I deserved,